Let us, without any further ado, start with this program. A warm welcome to the dignitaries on the dais. Definitely the dais is complete now. International Women's Day 2019 has a better. And definitely the balancing is being done by all the dignitaries who are there on the dais. The future is said to be really exciting. And we need to build a gender-balanced world. We have no difference, and that is being just proved by Reena Ranjit in her demonstration along with her kids. But here, when we are all a part of the world, everyone has a part to play all the time, every time. Friends, God also has a role to play, and this is every time proved in all our programs. We start with a prayer note. Never forget the three powerful resources you always have with you. They are love, prayer, and forgiveness. Putting all these three together and more with prayer, we have Mrs. Sumangali, Mrs. Lata, and Mrs. Jaya to lead us into prayer. Please be seated. I request you to be seated as we are led into prayer.
Mamavatu Shri Saraswati, Mamavatu Shri Saraswati, Kamakoti Pita Nivasini, Mamavatu Shri Saraswati, Komalakara Saroja Dhrita Veena, Simatita Vara Vagvilasini, Mamavatu Shri Saraswati, Rajadiraja Pujita Charane Rajivanayane, Ramaniya Vadane, Sujana Manorata Purana Chatura, Nijagala Shobhita Manimayahara, Ajabava Vandita Vasudeva Charanachita Sakala Vedasara, Mamavatu Shri Saraswati, Kamakoti Pita Nivasini, Mamavatu Shri Saraswati, Saraswati, Saraswati.
Thank you, madams, for giving us this particular note on prayer and for these blessings that are being showered. Former British Prime Minister said, she was Margaret Thatcher, and these were her words. If you want something said, ask a man. And if you want something done, ask a woman. Well, this day has witnessed a very interesting scene, and this particular celebration of International Women's Day is done by the mastermind, Dr. Anita Ravishankar. She is the director for Center for Women's Studies. She is also the Associate Professor, Department of Sociology, Mangalore University, and she is also the principal in charge of the Mangalore University First Grade College, Mangala Gangotri. A perfect example for balance for better. And here we have Dr. Anita Ravishankar coming further to welcome each one of you as well as give the concept note on this particular day.
Thank you, Preeti. President of today's function, Honorable Vice Chancellor, albeit in charge, Mangalore University, Professor Kishori Naik. Chief guest of today, Professor Maria Di Costa. Our two women who inspire, Miss Fatima Suznan, who is here, and Miss Mini Surendran, who is here. Members of the Syndicate Academic Council, my teaching and non-teaching colleagues, students, international students, members of the press, and my dear friends. I'm delighted that so many of you have responded to our invitation to come here to celebrate International Women's Day, being organized by the Center for Women's Studies at Mangalore University. Before I proceed, I deem it a privilege to welcome all of you. First of all, I would like to welcome the president of today's function, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Kishori Naik of Mangalore University. On behalf of all of us, welcome, Madam. Our warm welcome goes to Professor Maria De Costa, our chief guest. Welcome, ma'am. It's an honor for us that you have responded to our invitation. I heartily welcome Ms. Fatima, Ms. Fatima's parents to this function, as well as Mrs. Minnie. We are indeed honored that you are here with us. I also welcome all the Academic Council members, members of the syndicate, my teaching and non-teaching friends, as well as students and international students and members of the press, and all my dear friends, a warm welcome to this function. Many of you perhaps in this audience might ask, do we need to have a Women's Day? Yes, I think the answer is yes, we need to celebrate a Women's Day, at least one day a year, not as a day of protest, not as a mark to break homes or to society, but women to come together as a day of bonding, women as well as men to come together for a day of bonding, a day of contemplation. We also celebrate this day to appeal to the patriarchal structures not to discriminate us, not to torture us, not to push us aside, but to take us along with you. For this is where gender equality comes in. And where there is gender equality, there would be development. Any society can develop only when men and women become equal partners. So we also celebrate Women's Day to prove that women can make a difference in society. I do not know how many of you saw those posters that we have depicted outside. Posters of 15 women who have inspired at some point of time or the other. 15 women who have made a difference in the societies around them. How many of you have heard very recently of the young district magistrate in Bihar, Inayat Khan, who adopted 2 girls who were orphaned in the recent terror attack? Now, this noble act of hers is going to have a rippling effect on the 2 families for many, many generations to come. How many of us ever think of Jyotiba Phule, who dreamt of educating girls and for improving women's rights way back in the 19th century? Or of Soumya Swaminathan, the Deputy Director General of the World Health Organization, or of Geeta Gopinath, the first woman chief economist of the IMF, or of a very young Gloria Benny, who started a voluntary organization for the youth. How many of us ever even think of Dakshayani Velayudan, the first Dalit woman graduate in India, who went on to become the first woman to be elected to the Constituent Assembly way back in 1946. All these women have believed in themselves, in their strengths, in fighting the patriarchal structures. All these women have had the courage, determination, and conviction to succeed. So therefore, women can make a difference in our society. Just like our 2 women whom the center chose to felicitate today, Ms. Fatima and Ms. Minnie. Ms. Fatima survived a major train accident, lost her right leg, yet chose to get on with life. Her determination to write her exam, her second PUC exam with the support of her parents, have moved us. And that is why she is here with us today. Along with that, we have Minnie Nair, who have fought all the hardships in her life that life threw at her. Be it poverty, be it widowhood, she chose to step on all of them in order to rise up. They have inspired us. Our two strong women on the dais, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Kishori Naik, and Professor Maria Da Costa, have inspired us. The credit of being the first women Vice Chancellor being appointed by the government goes to Professor Kishori Naik. And we at the Center for Women's Studies feel it an honor that the founder director of the Center for Women's Studies is at the helm of affairs at Mangalore University. Professor Maria Da Costa, who did not sit back after retirement, but who chose to teach, to encourage, to help young people become entrepreneurs. You have inspired us. So therefore, today we are gathered here to celebrate that inspiration. Friends, this year's theme is Balance for Better. This is a theme given by the United Nations. So therefore, let's build a gender-balanced world, because in a gender-balanced world, everyone has a part to play. Each of us have to make a conscious effort to bring in that gender balance. Laws alone are not sufficient. Attitudinal shifts need to be in place, need to take place in both of us, in both men as well as women. So let's all strive to create this gender balance. Gender balance in departments, gender balance in colleges, gender balance in universities, in societies, and in government offices, because this is the best and the sure way to succeed. At the Center for Women's Studies, right from its inception in 2005, we have been doing plenty of extension programs by way of workshops, training programs, memorandums submitted to the government, and even conducting very many lectures. This is apart from, regularly conducting seminars and conferences. So this is one way in which we have been contributing to bringing in a better gender balance in society. To my women friends in the audience, both young and old, I have a message for you. Let's fight for our vision, our dreams, our ideas, our destiny. Then success will be ours. To the larger society who's gathered here, this is my message. To stop congratulating women for being the secret behind a successful man. Let's stop glorifying the roles that we play as mothers and the sacrifices that we make, although this role is very important. Instead, let's celebrate the woman as an individual, as a person, independent of all relationships. Let's stop justifying her need to multitask. Instead, let us help her in sharing her work. Allow us to be imperfect, unpredictable, and sometimes even lazy. Allow us to be a woman. Allow us to celebrate it. On this International Women's Day, I would like to place on record the unflinching support I have got from the Vice Chancellor and the Registrar, Professor A.M. Khan. I'm sure this is their way of supporting a better, gender-balanced society on our campus. I also acknowledge my teaching colleagues, my non-teaching friends, those who have supported me immensely. A special mention has to be made of my colleagues in the college and at the center who have supported me wonderfully in their contribution. All of you have contributed to making a better gender balance. And I hope that today we will sit back and think for a moment of what it is. And I would like to remind you that the cultural program that follows after this is a program that is put up by the students and the staff, young and old, students, mothers, daughters-in-law, and grandmothers. It's just to show that, yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam, for the words of welcome, and on the concept note, a warm welcome to you too. Well, it was indeed nice to get the right message that yes, we can, and women are still the untapped reservoir of talent in the world. Well, we now move on to felicitate the people who have really made a difference in their life, in our life, and the society. May I please request Ms. Fatima Suzna to kindly come forward. but that's okay. She's working on it, because she's not allowing things to be messing around her. Well, turning out obstacles into blessings, that is Miss Fatima Suzna. What more to tell about her? We have the citation being read by Mrs. Vasudha Karkera.
Friends, I feel privileged to announce the presence of a young girl who has made all of us proud today. She is Fatima Suzna, now studying in 2nd PU Commerce stream at St. Agnes College, Mangalore. Surviving a train accident with great presence of mind in October last year, in which she lost her right leg. The resident of Mahakali Patpu, Mangalore, did not let this shocking loss defeat her. Initially shattered, Mrs. Fatima bounced back with the help of her parents, Mr. Abdul Samad and Mrs. Ramlat and her family members. As a result, Fatima mustered up the strength to write her examination. Her exams are still going on, and she has another exam to write tomorrow. Despite this, Fatima has come here today so graciously to give us courage and hope. We must deeply appreciate Fatima's courage and determination, as well as the strength and support of her family, which is nothing short of heroic and exemplary. On our part, we are truly inspired by Fatima's never say die spirit. On this beautiful occasion of International Women's Day, we are all deeply moved by Fatima's positive attitude, which proclaims that when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. We wish her all success in her effort to put her life back on track. Fatima, may all your dreams come true. May you complete your studies with flying colors, and may you be blessed with happiness and prosperity, divine abundance, peace and contentment. Friends, let us all rise and give Miss Fatima Suzna a standing ovation.
We have the parents of Fatima Suzna along. It's definitely a great moment, because she has done something very beautiful in her life by not giving up. Her damaged petals are what made her more beautiful than the other flowers. What do you say? Can we give her a very big round of applause, Fatima Suzna? Well, women are really amazing. Every woman can put a smile on her face and act like everything is fine, when in reality, the world is on her shoulder. Her life is slipping through the cracks of her fingers. Well, we have with us Miss Mini Surendran Nair. May I please request Miss Surendran Nair to be kindly escorted by our friends here in the Women's Center. Please, madam, we are very happy to have you. Please do come to the dais. Miss Mini Sundaran Nair. It is said, give a woman pain and she'll turn it into power. Give that woman chaos and she'll create peace. We now have the citation read by Mrs. Nagaveni.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಹಿಳಾ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು. ಕೊಣಾಜೆ ಗ್ರಾಮದ ಪುಳಿಂಚಾಡಿ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸ್ತವ್ಯವಿರುವ ಮಿನಿ ನಾಯರ್ ಇವರು ದಿನಾಂಕ 6/9/2057ರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇರಳದ ಪತ್ತನಂತಿಟ್ಟ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಥಲಿಕ್ ಕುಟುಂಬದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನಿಸಿದರು. SSLC ವಿದ್ಯಾಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮುಗಿಸಿದ ಇವರು 1976ರಲ್ಲಿ ಸುರೇಂದ್ರ ನಾಯರ್ ಇವರನ್ನು ಮದುವೆಯಾದರು. ಹಿಂದುವನ್ನು ಮದುವೆ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಪ್ಪಿನಿಂದ ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಸಮುದಾಯದಿಂದ ಹೊರಗೆ ಉಳಿದವರು. ನಾಯರ್ ಕುಟುಂಬದವರು ಇವರನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಿ ಮರಿಯಾ ಮಿನಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದ ಇವರ ಹೆಸರು ಮಿನಿ ಸುರೇಂದ್ರ ನಾಯರ್ ಆದರು. ಅಂಚೆ ಕಚೇರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕಿದ್ದ ಸುರೇಂದ್ರ ನಾಯರ್ ರವರು ಸಮುದಾಯದವರ ತೊಡಕಿನಿಂದ ಕೆಲವು ಸಮಯ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ದೂರವೇ ಉಳಿದು ಬಿಟ್ಟರು. ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ತಮ್ಮನ್ನು ತಾವು ಬೆರೆಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಕೊಣಾಜೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ವಾಸ್ತವ್ಯ ಹೂಡಿದರು. ಇವರಿಗೆ 3 ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವರ 3 ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಓದುತ್ತಿರುವಾಗ ಸುರೇಂದ್ರ ನಾಯರ್ ಅವರು ನಿಧನ ಹೊಂದಿದರು. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ 3 ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನು ಪೋಷಿಸುವ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಮಿನಿಯವರಿಗೆ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಹೊತ್ತುಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕಾಯಿತು. ಕೊಣಾಜೆ ಗ್ರಾಮದ UBMC ಶಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಲವಾಡಿ ಟೀಚರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇರಿದ ಇವರಿಗೆ ಶಾಲೆಯ ಟೀಚರ್ನವರು ಕನ್ನಡ ಕಲಿಸಿ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಗ್ರಾಮಾಂತರ ಪ್ರದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂಗನವಾಡಿ ನಡೆಸಲು ಗ್ರಾಮ ಪಂಚಾಯತಿ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಸರ್ಕಾರದಿಂದ ಆದೇಶ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅಧ್ಯಾಪಕರ ಸಹಾಯದಿಂದ ಬಾಲವಾಡಿ ಕೇಂದ್ರವನ್ನು ಅಂಗನವಾಡಿ ಕೇಂದ್ರವನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾರ್ಪಾಡು ಮಾಡಲಾಯಿತು. ಸಂದರ್ಶನದ ಮುಖಾಂತರವೇ ಅದೇ ಶಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂಗನವಾಡಿ ಕೇಂದ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಇವರು ಟೀಚರ್ ಆಗಿ ಆಯ್ಕೆಯಾದರು. ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೆ 385 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಗೌರವಧನವನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯುತ್ತಿದ್ದರು. ಮಕ್ಕಳ ವಿದ್ಯಾಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಲು ತೊಂದರೆಯಾಯಿತು. ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಿಗುವ ಗೌರವಧನದಿಂದ ಜೀವನ ನಡೆಸುವುದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾದ ಕಾರಣ ಸಣ್ಣ ಉಳಿತಾಯ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರ ಸಹಾಯಕದಿಂದ ಅಥರೈಸ್ಡ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಪಡೆದು ಮಂಗಳ ಗಂಗೋತ್ರಿ ಅಂಚೆ ಕಚೇರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊದಲಿನ ಮಹಿಳಾ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಇವರು ಈಗಲೂ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮುಂದೆ ನಡೆದ ಅಂಗನವಾಡಿ ಮೇಲ್ವಿಚಾರಕರ ಸಹಾಯದಿಂದ ಲೈಫ್ ಇನ್ಶೂರೆನ್ಸ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಲು ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ವಿದ್ಯಾಭ್ಯಾಸವನ್ನು ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಿ ಈಗ ಇವರ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಮಿನಿ ಅವರು ಸಮಾಜಮುಖಿಯಾಗಿ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರ ಹಾಗೂ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಗೆ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಶ್ರಮಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ತಪಾಸಣೆ, ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕಾಳಜಿ ವಹಿಸುವುದು, ಶಾರೀರಿಕ, ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಹಾಗೂ ಭೌತಿಕ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಜಾಗೃತಿ ಮೂಡಿಸುವುದು, ಮನೆ ಮನೆಗೆ ಭೇಟಿ ನೀಡಿ ಗರ್ಭಿಣಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬಾಣಂತಿಯರ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿದು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಕಾರಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಸಿಗುವ ಸವಲತ್ತುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ನೀಡಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಿಗುವ ಸವಲತ್ತುಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಡುವುದು. ಹೀಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು 12 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಸ್ತ್ರೀ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಗುಂಪುಗಳನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತನ್ನನ್ನು ತಾನು ತೊಡಗಿಸಿಕೊಂಡರು. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಾಧನಗಳಿಂದ ಹಾಗೂ ಅವರ ಬದುಕಿನ ಹೋರಾಟಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಮಿನಿ ಸುರೇಂದ್ರ ನಾಯರ್ ಅವರು ಮಹಿಳಾ ಸಬಲೀಕರಣದ ಪ್ರತೀಕವಾಗಿದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರಿಗೆ ಆದರ್ಶವಾಗಿ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಈ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಪತ್ರವನ್ನು ಇಂದು ಮಾರ್ಚ್ 8, 2019 ವಿಶ್ವ ಮಹಿಳಾ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆ ಅಂಗವಾಗಿ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯದ ಮಹಿಳಾ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಕೇಂದ್ರವು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಗೌರವಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ನೀಡುತ್ತಿದೆ.
For her exemplary work, it is an honor to give this honor to Mrs. Mini Nair. So can we all give a very big round of applause? Lies a little broken girl who had to learn how to get up and never depend on anyone. We thank both the ladies who are exemplarily great in their own achievements, and we are really happy to honor you on this special day. A big thanks to Mrs. Mini Nair as well as the little girl who has done great wonders, Miss Fatima Suzna. We thank her parents also. Thank you very much. Thank you. She is like a tea bag. You can't tell how strong she is until you put her in real hot water, and this has been proved by the ladies on the dais as well as off the dais. Well, on the dais, we have the distinguished chief guest of today's program, Dr. Maria C. DeCosta. She is the director for UXL Academy, Mangalore, and she is somebody who has definitely made her difference in her life as well as the society. Now to introduce the chief guest, Dr. Maria C. DaCosta, we have with us Dr. Wajida Banu.
Respected Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University, Professor Kishori Naik ma'am, esteemed chief guest of today's function, Professor Maria DaCosta, our own Professor Anita Ravi Shankar ma'am, Director, Women Studies Center, dignitaries among the audience, invitees, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm afternoon to all of you. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce our chief guest, Professor Maria DaCosta. A perfect epitome of beauty with brain, is an exemplary portrayal of woman. Each and every woman is unique, special, and precious in their own beautiful way. But Professor Maria beholds a unique charm that is hard to find among anybody else. She is a woman with a character which brings out a positive and energetic spark in us. On this special occasion of International Women's Day, I feel proud to introduce her because this is a day when women are acknowledged for their accomplishment in their respective field. Ladies and gentlemen, I, Dr. Wajida, faculty member from Department of Economics, takes this immense pleasure to introduce to you our chief guest, Professor Maria DaCosta, a woman who is known for her excellency and brilliance. Professor Maria DaCosta, former head and professor of English from the School of Social Work, retired as a director of her own institute, UExcel, Institute for Excellence, which trains student, professionals, and housewives to excel in their chosen fields, careers, and enterprises. She also trains hundreds of students for their Trinity College London for their examinations in speech, drama, communication skills. With over 50 years of teaching experience from KG to PG level of education, Professor DaCosta wants to share her learning and expertise with teachers and students in particular. Thus, her schedule comprises training program for school, colleges, corporates, and organizations. Her motto is to help each individual and institute excel. Professor Maria DaCosta is a creative writer, a poet, a dramatist, a public speaker, a publisher, a radio artist, a student and teacher counselor, a personality development consultant. Year after year, she directs self-scripted plays, conduct programs to provide an opportunity to the student to showcase their talents. Maria DaCosta has been an active Toastmaster for over 2 decades. Communication is an art she has mastered to give motivational speeches across the country. She believes that every student is a genius and thus the power and potential to excel in her or his chosen field and subject. Despite the demanding syllabus, she trains teachers to observe and discover innovative methods of teaching and learning. She believes that we need to learn. Meditation, yoga, and positive energy is what she advocates. Students, professionals, housewives, businessmen, institutions, organizations excel under her guidance. Blessed with initiatives, a discerning spirit, patience, preservations, and deep faith in herself, in people's capacity, she has excelled in helping others to excel. Professor Maria DaCosta looks forward to share her experience and expertise with the world which want to excel and remain updated. I once again welcome ma'am on behalf of all who gathered here. I wish each one of you happy Women's Day and have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wajida Banu. May I please now request the chief guest of today's program, Dr. Maria C. DaCosta, to give her message to all of us gathered here.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Professor Kishori Naik, I'm proud to see you on that chair. Dr. Anita Ravishankar, Director for Women's Studies, faculty members, dear students of this renowned Mangalore University, Miss Fatima and Mrs. Minnie, guests and friends. Good afternoon. I think it's good evening. Balance for better. That's what you and I are striving for. And as a woman, striving to empower women in particular, and men too, I feel happy and honored to address you today on Women's Day at this celebration. A celebration that began around the world 100 years ago. This is a day to celebrate the achievements of women, be it a housewife who is like the CEO of a family, or CEOs of multinational companies. It's a day to look at the progress women have made in all fields of education and employment the world over. The world has made strides, women in particular, as entrepreneurs. Today we have 1/3 of the world's entrepreneurs who are women. While in India, we are just 13.76%. We are lagging behind by 20% compared to world entrepreneurs. But there's a breath of relief. Look at Udupi, our sister district, where women lead hands down. The district commissioner, the additional district commissioner, the chief executive officer, the superintendent of police, the district in charge minister, the member of parliament, the 3 presidents of taluka panchayats are all women. This has been a record, I'm sure, in modern India. Yet, there is a lot to be done. They say in the papers today, Times of India, think equal, build smart, innovate for change, as per the Women's Day theme. Dr. Kishori Naik, heading this prestigious, world-famous University of Mangalore, I salute you on that chair. May your tribe increase. When I read the first chapter of a book on transforming hierarchies, multicultural women writers, in a first chapter, I read about how she speaks about, I read about the continued need for women's empowerment. And she recalls her professor in college who said that The only lesson learned from history was that we learn nothing from history, which is why history repeats itself. So very true. But we women will not allow history to repeat itself, madam. Dr. Kishori, in her book, speaks about feminist writers and about women's struggles. And she says, the woman is more acted upon than acting. It is a must-read book for all. Coming to my focus today, ladies and gentlemen, empowering women entrepreneurs. Let me begin with that question. Who is an entrepreneur? He or she is one who organizes and manages an enterprise or business with initiative and its accompanied risks. With the growth of civilization, the role of women, my dear friends, has changed considerably from managing a household to economically contributing not just to the family income, but to national and world income. That is why we have seen a change in roles. Women have gone beyond the home. They are in all fields, in all spheres, military, navy, air force, business, academic ventures, they are all there. In the European and American states, women have an equal share in employment and enterprise, and they have grabbed the opportunity. With growth in literacy and information system, incentives by the government promote entrepreneurship in India to a great extent. Women today are empowered better than before, and that is why I stand here tall and proud to address you. However, the hangover of social roles apportioned to her has a drag on her aspiration and achievements. Yet, we have empowered women in India today, like Indra Nooyi, CEO of Pepsi, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, CEO of Biocon. Then we have International Women, General Motors, headed by women, Mara Bara. Schlumberger is headed by a woman. 25 of the Fortune 500 companies are headed by women. What holds women back? Let me ask, and I'm sure you too ask that question. Domestic responsibilities, social norms, myths like the weaker sex, the second sex, sometimes or very often lack of education, flagging interest after domestic responsibility, childbirth and nurturing. What will the world say? The risk-taking factor. Will my family like it factor? Still, ladies and gentlemen, there is a stigma attached to women going out to work. Annapurna, my student, for whom I wanted to set up a business venture called Just Delicious, said, "Ma'am, what will my father-in-law say?" So far, no woman in my family has ventured out into business. My message to you, beautiful women, intelligent women, is this: march forward. Swim or you will sink. Fly, not die. Grab the facilities. There is, at the government level, facilities for entrepreneurs. You have Startup India for all, where they are engaged in activities like speed mentoring sessions by the Government of India. In that you have eminent personalities in the area of investment, finance, legal experts too, to help you. The subsidies provided are immense. You have low interest borrowing at the national level in all nationalized banks. Under Stand Up India, this is specially for women entrepreneurs and women particularly belonging to the scheduled class and the backward classes. We have trade-related entrepreneurship assistance. We have 30% subsidy of the total project cost offered by the government. I request you, women, to come forward. I too counsel entrepreneurs to start their businesses. I have started 22 enterprises for young men and women, particularly those who said they have failed in their university examination. We have Just Breakfast, which I started, Hisrar events and celebrations, Blessings, which has just started, and many more. Come to UXL. I will train you how to start your own enterprise. Dear gentlemen present here, you are strong, chivalrous, and gallant. We need you. It was with my husband's support and the support of my 3 sons that I stand tall here before you. And you are the one who are going to help your mother, your sister, your daughter, woman, and wife to take up private ventures. Help them fly high, and with them, hand in hand with you, you will grow rich, happy, healthy, and prosperous. It's only then that we can have a life balanced for the better. And today's theme, think equal, build smart, and innovate for change, will get a meaning. I wish all of you prosperity, health, and happiness. To the women here present, I say, start thinking now, and don't stop at thinking. Move on. I'm there for you, and so are your teachers. Thank you, ma'am, for inviting me and for this honor.
Thank you, madam, for those inspirational words that definitely no struggle can ever succeed without women participating side by side with men. And women, as she said, are just like the moon, sometimes lonely, sometimes full of imperfection. But just like the moon, they will always shine in times of darkness. One thing that is required is, please allow them to fly. Thank you for this message, ma'am. Thank you very much. Can we have a very big round of applause, because she has done real justice on this day. Well, friends, a flower will not grow if the stem doesn't allow it to do so. In the same way, our university cannot flourish if we do not have the real guidance, charm, and blessing by the Honorable Vice Chancellor. Our Vice Chancellor is definitely a lady with a difference. And to know more about her, we have Dr. Yashaswini B. to introduce the Vice Chancellor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Every smile, every loving word, every kind action are reflective of feminine psyche and is a reflections of the beauty of a feminine heart and soul. Good afternoon, ladies and all the gentlemen here. I'm equally happy and proud to introduce the model leadership, the Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University before to you all. Professor Kishori Nayak is a professor of English, was a chairman of PG Studies and Research in English at Mangalore University for several terms since 1998. She was a founding director of the Center of Women's Studies of the university and held its charge for about 10 years from 2004-05 onwards. Of course, she had a brilliant academic career with laurels in both curricular and extracurricular activities and being awarded by Government of India various merit scholarships right from her school days. She was a gold medalist with a rank during her graduate and postgraduate days. She holds an advanced diploma in German and also a Vidwat in Hindustani vocal music as well. While she has specialized in American literature for her PhD from Mysore University, she also holds diploma in the teaching of English with a distinction from CIEFL, Hyderabad. She was a Commonwealth Postdoctoral Fellow at the University of Warwick, Coventry, UK, during 2000-2001. She has presented various papers in national and international conferences and published many of them in reputed journals. She served in editorial board of ICFAI, Journal of Commonwealth Literature. She authored many books, some of the books like American Fiction, The Black-White Encounter and Transforming Multiple Hierarchies, Multicultural Women Writers, and she also worked for Monograph on Feminism in Kannada and edited 8 more books on literacy of women issues. Dr. Nayak has been associated with several research organizations and she has guided many PhD students and a few of them are still working on various topics. She also handled various research works by various funded organizations. While in Women's Studies Center, under her able leadership, the center had several gender sensitization workshops. Almost 62 workshops have been organized. A series of lectures on various women issues were guided by Dr. Kishori Nayak. And Dr. Kishori Nayak was instrumental and responsible for the inclusion of gender equity as a compulsory component of general studies course for the first time in the state at the undergraduate level in the Mangalore University from 2006 to 2007. There were 2 textbooks on gender equity, both in English and Kannada, have been published by the center. Dr. Kishori Nayak is also trained to take up various sessions and various sensitization program on gender issues and workshops in the UGC special schemes, capacity building for women managers in higher education, and has organized 2 such prestigious regional workshops program and participated in many more programs conducted by UGC. With this, I am very happy and very proud, in fact, to introduce Professor Kishori Nayak to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yashaswini B. Madam, it is now time to listen to you we are extremely honored to have the First Lady Vice Chancellor here, Professor Kishori Nayak K, to give her address on this special day.
Well, Honorable Member of the Academic Council, the chief guest of today, Professor Phyllis D'Costa, Director of the Women's Studies Center, Dr. Anita Ravishankar, fellow faculty members, students, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It is a coincidence of sorts that I happen to be the acting Vice Chancellor. But I am very proud that I could be called the First Lady Vice Chancellor of Mangala University. I am proud that I could claim to be, at least for a few days, or maybe months, we don't know, because we still await the arrival of probably a male Vice Chancellor. Ever since I took over as the director of the Women's Studies Center, and well, I mobilized quite a lot of money, etc., for the center, right? I was asked a question, why don't you apply for the VC-ship of the Women's University? My answer was, are women fit only for ghettos? Should women be given only the Women's Studies Center? Which, of course, initially I claimed, because I was the one who went and made the presentation, and for the first time in the university got 50 lakhs for a particular project in 2005. No other scheme had till then got 50 lakhs as seed money. Thereafter, we have had several projects which have had, I think, 1 or 2 crores and so on in the science. But that was one in the humanities and with 50 lakhs. So we were an eyesore in 2004-05. Everybody, the auditors, the finance committee members and so on wanted to know what are they doing with those 50 lakhs. And well, in 2 years, I was able to utilize most of it. So much so, a former chairperson of the UGC, a lady, that's why I used chairperson. There have been only 2 women chairpersons in the UGC since, well, we got independence and the UGC was established. And one was Professor Madhuri Shah in the 90s and I think late 80s, and then Professor Armaiti Desai, former director of TIS, who became chairperson of the UGC. Now, Armaiti Desai happened to ask me, are you a full-time director? Because of the kind of programs that I organized in those 2 years or so, which was the end of the, but not much notice was taken about this at all. In the newspapers, in the university, so on and so forth. This speaks about the invisibility and the silencing of women's work. I was director of the Women's Studies Center for about 10 years. And I also tried to establish a center, not just, I mean, the center was established. I wanted to convert it into a department. And the UGC, taking note of the work that I did, of course, with the cooperation of people in the Action Plan Committee, which included men also. Professor Edapaditaya, Professor Sripati Kalluraya, and Professor Sabia, who is now Vice Chancellor in Women's University, and Professor Anita Ravishankar. These were the members of my Action Plan Committee who extended a great amount of support, without which I would not have been able to do the kind of work we did. But all this work went unrecognized at different levels. And I was never given any mainstream position. Why did this happen? Just 2 days ago, as acting Vice Chancellor, I was looking at the kind of committees that have been formed to, present the institution for NAC, re-accreditation. And, well, we do have women professors, don't we? They are just 10 to 15% of our manpower, woman power, whatever. They are just 10 to 15%. Even though our students are 70% or more of girls. Why does this happen? Why are women not found in? We have women teachers in the schools, almost 95% of them are women. We have women in high schools, we have women in colleges also. Almost 90% women. But when it comes to prestigious places like universities, why is it that women do not find their place? Even though there is what is called 30% women's reservation. Why is it that we have not reached 30%? Why is it that we are still at 10 and 15%? Now, these are questions that I have been asking over the years in different places, and I have been perceived as aggressive. Aggressive and, well, gender. Kishori Nayak, gender. Kishori Nayak, women's rights. And I have had to smile when I was labeled, what I was labeled. Because I didn't want to be perceived as aggressive. Women's studies has taught me that we should be assertive without being aggressive. I don't know, in spite of that, I think I have been perceived as aggressive. Because again, studies in women's issues tell us, data collected, if a woman speaks 20% of the time in a conversation, these are research studies that have been conducted by feminists, recorded conversations and so on. If a woman speaks 20% of the time, it is perceived that she has spoken 40 to 50%. She was dominating the conversation. And I have personally experienced this in discussions that I have had to participate in. If I contributed, I was perceived as, well, gender, aggressive, etc. And if I didn't, well, she's like, women are like that, silent, submissive, smiling. They don't speak up. So I was caught. I have been caught in this, what should I call it? I don't know. Because a Kannada proverb comes to mind rather than an English proverb. Ikkula. Kannada ikkula. ಆಚೆಯೂ ಅಲ್ಲ ಈಚೆಯೂ ಅಲ್ಲ ಆಚೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಈಚೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಹಾಗೆ. So somewhere I think after I got out of the Women's Studies Center, I got out of it. I asked to be relieved when I went on a sabbatical, following several problems that I had in my family. My husband passed away and so on. I have always believed that I am a strong woman. And I think I have established that I am a strong woman. In the past 6 years, I have lived alone. And I have still survived. I have published a book which I was delighted to know Phyllis had read. I never expected anybody to have read my book. Because women's books are not read. There's a famous book by a feminist. The writing or the sex. why you don't need to read women's writing to know it's no good. The norm is you criticize women writers without reading them. That is what happens in literary circles, whether it be Kannada or English or whatever. You don't need to read women's writing to know it is no good. I remember what happened when I was a student at the MA level. A research scholar was sent to take a professor's class for us. And, well, he said, ask me questions and I will answer. And I happened to ask him about Nargis Dalal's two women. Oh, no, two sisters, that's the title. I just said, two sisters, have you read that? What do you think of that book? And this man had not read it. He said, oh, she's a woman writer. Who has written it? Nargis Dalal. Oh, women writers, I don't read them. This was a research scholar in the English department where I did my MA. Now, even when I did my PhD, what did I do? I had a MA with absolutely no feminism prescribed. There were one or two women writers, Emily Dickinson and a Jane Austen, and maybe an Emily Bronte. And in Indian writing, we had Sarojini Naidu and Thorudas. Beyond that, there were no women writers. So please don't imagine that whatever I speak of comes from what my teachers taught me. Whatever I have learned, I think, came from my own reading and my experiences. I was the first woman faculty member, only faculty member for 5 years in Kuvempu University. And that taught me a lot. Out of 40 permanent faculty, I was the only woman in Shimoga. And even after I left for about 2-3 years, there were 2 guest faculty, ladies. They were not made permanent for 2-3 years more, which means they worked as temporary faculty for a number of years. I'm speaking about this because I would like to talk about how we have many women here. I think we have more than 60% students. We have, I think, a very strong woman force in the non-teaching staff. 68% students, but non-teaching, how many women, what's the percentage? 85% non-teaching staff. And yet, I have had situations in the campus, in meetings, wherein, well, there are women sitting there, and there are some male officers, and they talk about how, well, women can't work, you know. They don't work full time. They don't come for work in the evening and so on. And these women, I have seen them till 7, 8, sometimes 9 or even 10 at night, working overtime. And this work is not acknowledged. It is silenced. It is invisible. And why is it I am able to speak of these things today? Because I am Vice Chancellor, acting though. If I had been only Dean, I would not have been able to speak like this. I am speaking up now because I would like my male colleagues to be aware. Most of them are very good by themselves. But we are all blind to the patriarchal structures that are there. And well, patriarchal structures marginalize women. They marginalize people from the depressed classes, castes, so on and so forth. The women's movement and, the depressed classes and so on, the SC, STs and such other classes, yeah? All the movements for all these have gone together. I happen to be I happen to have specialized in this, in American literature, the black-white encounter. A book was mentioned earlier. That was my first publication, the black-white encounter in American fiction. So I am very much aware of the ethnic movement. I had a comparative chapter, which I didn't publish. I had a comparative chapter which talked about the Indian encounter also. And then from ethnic studies, I moved to feminism and multiculturalism. These are all related. But unfortunately, I tend to be called for women's speeches. I am never called for other things. I am trying to tell you that there are structural ways in which our research, our visibility, etc., gets marginalized, becomes invisible, becomes silent. And I have written about that in the preface to my third book. My second book was Trivada Nelegalu Niluvalu. I have written about this marginalization of women's voices and so on, women being more acted upon than acting. In the third book, Transforming Hierarchies, Multicultural Women Writers. And I have a fourth project, a major research project now, which is on rewriting women's histories. My project report is due, but I have not been able to work on it due to CBCS and now acting vice chancellorship. I have not been able to finalize the report, even though it is due. But yes, Phyllis was suggesting that we can rewrite women's histories. Anita was also talking about it. I think when we have models like Fatima, or when we have models like Minnie, or we have other models like you mentioned Jyotiba, Savitri Ba Phule, yeah. When we have models like Sister Subbalakshmi, when we have models like Pandita Ramabai Saraswati, she's from, I think, Mala, near Bajagoli. When we have women like that who have pioneered women's education, most of our girls who are being educated don't know the value of that education. The fact that women were denied education in the 19th century, saying that if a woman is educated, she will become a widow. I think people like Ramabai Ranade, Yashoda Bai Joshi and others write about these prejudices that were rampant in 19th century Maharashtra, which is supposed to be a very progressive state, right? And women have had to fight all this and come forward. I have been reading a number of women's autobiographies. This retelling women's histories is based on literary autobiographies which tell women's stories. And it was a male PhD student in the Central University of Kerala who highlighted how when he went to collect data, he first met the women, but he didn't have a tape recorder, so he wasn't able to record the data. And therefore he went a second time. He got wonderful stories from them the first time, but the second time he went, the men were there. And when the men were there, the women did not speak up. They were silenced by the presence of men. Now this is also a structural inequality, and I think I have also said I have been silenced in different ways by the structures within our own university, in spite of being a very vocal, assertive woman. And it is only luck that has placed me here. Luck, or, well, Phyllis would have liked to said she prefers to call it blessings. Whatever it be. It is a coincidence that I happen to have become the senior dean, and well, a vice chancellor has not been appointed to date, which is why I am where I am today. And if somebody is appointed in the next 1 hour or so, I may have to give charge. I don't know. Do I give charge today or do I give charge next week? Or if elections are declared, do I give charge to somebody else after the elections? I do not know. It's a period of uncertainty. And it doesn't matter to me because now I have at least been the first woman vice chancellor of Mangalore University. Yeah. I hope that isn't a signal to me that I must stop. Yeah. I would like to say, yes, I am not against men. I have had to say this again and again from different platforms. It's unfortunate that when we define feminism, we have to begin with neti, neti. No, it is not hating men, it is not this, it is not that. I have been married and I had a loving husband. Yeah? I married because I wanted to. It wasn't forced upon me. My marriage was not a very conventional one in the sense, it was arranged, but arranged through friends, not through horoscope matching and such other things. There was no horoscope matching. And well, my marriage was celebrated in the house of the boy or the groom. It was a very small function, 25 immediate family members, not even 25, I think. So I have been unconventional in many ways. Not that I haven't been unconventional. So I have questioned many of the norms. Now, why was it that I went in for such a marriage? Because in my community, dowry has been rampant. Was rampant, I don't know whether it is still rampant. So, I said I will not buy myself a groom. The GSB community at that stage, in the 80s when I was of marriageable age, had dowry. Even now, there is a lot of gold and such other things to be given. Gold and diamonds and whatnot. And now it's a diamond necklace, not just diamond studs. So I married outside my community, an arranged marriage outside my community, but a different subcaste, that's all. And even that created a lot of problems in my family. There were protests, there was anger, etc., etc. Yeah. So, yeah, women need to question norms, need to question stereotypes, but they also need support. Yeah, something else. And well, earlier Women's Day, there used to be only men, I am told, in the 60s and 70s. When it was celebrated, there would only be men in the functions because women were not supposed to come out. In the 80s and 90s, after the 1976 International Women's Day, women were literally dragged to the functions. And well, we only began to have women, no men. The other extreme. Now, my contention is, we live together as human beings. We don't want an androcentric patriarchal world, but we also don't want a gynocentric world. We want androgyny. I think I saw a phrase in today's Deccan Herald, stronger together. Now that is important. Stronger together, not only women together, but men and women together. So, I would say we have really achieved women's equality when we have both men and women in equal number in this hall. Not men only or women only, but men and women in equal number in this hall. I think in the first year of our center's existence, we did have some men's participation. But after that, after the first 2 years, the men disappeared. I don't know why. Maybe they found our speech a little strident. But it is today that I again find that men are attending. Men have attended. I would like the men to think about this. Yeah? With these few words, I hope I am very positive because I see girls becoming more assertive and boys also acknowledging the fact that girls have rights. I have seen this transformation coming about in our students. And also our faculty becoming more sensitive. I think transforming hierarchies, which is the title of my book, my project and so on, is a long-term project. It cannot be done overnight. It's a long-term project. And I am happy to see that there have been transformations. But at the same time, I also talked about history repeating itself and that we learn nothing from history, which, Phyllis D'Costa quoted earlier. I hope that doesn't happen. I wish you all a great Women's Day. And we could have a Men's Day as well. Why not? Dr. Balakrishna was asking me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your words that in society, women definitely need to break barriers and ignore limits. Well, madam, a phrase for you. The best index to a person's character is how she treats people who can't do her anything good and how she treats people who can't fight back. And madam has been doing this, and definitely from the past 40 years, we are presenting the first lady Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University in papers, Professor Kishori Nayak K. Well, we now have the presentation of mementos. Love and work are to people and definitely water and sunshine to plants. And on this day, we have saplings as our mementos. May I please request Madam Vasudha Karkera to give the sapling to our chief guest, Dr. Maria C. D'Costa. Hem your blessings with thankfulness so that they don't unravel. Now to thank everyone who made special moments for us today, we have Mrs. Sabita, Assistant Professor, Department of Sociology, to express words of gratitude.